Margaret Williams adjusted her cream-colored blazer one more time as she sat in the warm glow of the downtown cafe. At 52, she had built a successful marketing firm from the ground up, but tonight felt different. Her daughter Emma, now 8 years old with golden hair pulled back in careful pigtails, sat beside her, swinging her legs beneath the table. "Mommy, are you nervous?" Emma asked, her bright eyes taking in everything around them. The cafe buzzed with gentle conversation, string lights casting a soft amber glow over weathered wooden tables. Margaret smiled, tucking a strand of her blonde hair behind her ear. "A little, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups get nervous about meeting new people, too." She had almost canceled this blind date 3 times. Her assistant had insisted she needed to get back out there after 5 years of focusing solely on her business and raising Emma. The man was supposedly named David Martinez. All she knew was that he worked at the office building where her company had recently moved. The cafe door chimed softly, and Margaret looked up. A man with dark, wavy hair and kind brown eyes scanned the room. He wore a simple brown work shirt and jeans, his hands showing the honest calluses of someone who worked with them daily. When their eyes met, he offered a gentle, slightly uncertain smile. "Margaret?" His voice was warm, with just a hint of nervousness that somehow put her at ease. "Yes, and you must be David." She stood, extending her hand. His grip was firm but gentle, and she noticed how carefully he greeted Emma. "And you must be the famous Emma I've heard about," David said, crouching down to the little girl's level. "I hear you're quite the artist," Emma beamed. "I draw horses mostly." "Do you like horses?" "I love horses," David replied with genuine enthusiasm. "My grandfather had a small farm when I was your age. I used to help take care of them." As they settled into conversation, Margaret found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't expected. David worked as a maintenance supervisor, what some might call a janitor, though his quiet pride in his work was evident. He spoke about fixing things, about making sure people had clean, safe spaces to work. There was dignity in how he described his days. "You know," David said, stirring his coffee slowly, "there's something satisfying about taking something broken and making it work again. Whether it's a leaky faucet or, well, sometimes people need fixing too. Not fixing exactly, but understanding." Margaret nodded, thinking of her own journey. The divorce had been difficult, the struggle to build her business while caring for Emma even harder. But she had learned that real strength often came quietly, in daily acts of persistence and love. Emma had grown comfortable with David, showing him drawings she'd pulled from her small backpack. He studied each one carefully, asking questions about the horses' names and what adventures they might have. "This one looks like she's ready to explore the whole world," David said, pointing to a spirited mare Emma had colored in browns and golds. "That's Buttercup," Emma explained seriously. "She takes care of the other horses when they're scared." David glanced at Margaret over Emma's head, and something passed between them, an understanding of what it meant to care for others, to put someone else's needs first. The evening stretched on comfortably. David shared stories of growing up with his grandmother, who had raised him after his parents died in a car accident when he was 12. Margaret spoke about the early days of her business, working from her kitchen table while Emma napped. "I used to think success meant having everything figured out," Margaret said, watching Emma color quietly. "Now I think it might just mean being brave enough to keep trying, even when things don't look like what you expected." "Especially then," David agreed softly. As the cafe began to empty around them, Emma yawned against Margaret's shoulder. The evening felt like a gentle dream, the kind of unexpected gift that comes when you're not actively searching for it. "I should get this little one home," Margaret said, but she made no move to gather their things immediately. David nodded, then hesitated. I hope this doesn't sound presumptuous, but would you maybe like to do this again? I mean, all 3 of us. Maybe somewhere Emma might enjoy. The park or the children's museum." Emma perked up at this. "The museum has a butterfly garden." Margaret looked at David, really looked at him. She saw kindness in his eyes, patience in the way he had spent the entire evening, including Emma in their conversation, dignity in how he carried himself despite what others might see as a humble job. "I'd like that very much," she said quietly. Outside the cafe, the city lights twinkled like earthbound stars. As they walked to their cars, Emma between them, chattering about butterflies and horses, Margaret realized something had shifted inside her chest. For the first time in years, the future felt not just manageable, but genuinely hopeful. "Thank you," she said to David as they reached her car. "For what? For seeing us? Really seeing us?" David smiled, that same gentle expression she was already growing to treasure. "Thank you for letting me." As Margaret buckled Emma into her car seat, her daughter whispered sleepily, "I like him. Mommy, he listens like you do." Driving home through the quiet streets, Margaret reflected on how love might come not as a dramatic rescue, but as a steady presence. Someone who saw value in caring for things, in making daily life a little better for others. Someone whose kindness was as natural as breathing. Sometimes, she thought, the heart recognizes what it needs before the mind catches up. And sometimes, the most unexpected meetings become the most treasured beginnings. The city lights blurred gently through her tears of gratitude as she realized that perhaps the best kind of love was the kind that felt like coming home.